Yo, what's good, gang? AV here. Welcome back to another Rocket League video. Today, we're going to be talking about what I would do if I had to start over. That means no mechanics, no game sense, and no connections. But with that, let's get right into the video. Okay, so starting off, I am a top 100 SSL player, and I'm going to be talking about what I would do if I would have to start over and go from top 100 to unranked. Brand new player loading up the game. Never played before. Don't understand any of the mechanics. How I am going to break down points in this video is I am going to go through like each set of ranks. So the first one is going to be from as low as bronze all the way up to about low diamond. And then from there we could keep going on and talk about what I would do differently starting as a brand new player. So starting from low bronze to about low diamond, I'm going to pop the three main points on the screen. So for the first one, we are going to be talking about learning the basics of car control. So that means dribble and flicking. So let me hop into replay and show you. Okay, so starting off, what I tend to see what lower ranks do when they start learning how to dribble or how to just, hit the ball hard, is they tend to like not be able to pop the ball like this. So when I was, when I was around diamond or, even plat or gold, is I learned how to be able to pop the ball up like this consistently, which is a really good fundamental exercise just in general, because not only does it help you, get onto the ball for a dribble, it also teaches you how to set up for air dribbles, which is a more advanced mechanic that we'll get into later into the video. But if you could just get used to, touching the ball up like this, like almost like a soccer dribble, you'll be able to easily get a dribble and catch a ball on top of your head, which in turn you could flick it, which getting into flicks is it's a learning curve, I would say, for most people. But as soon as you could start getting the ball on top of your car or learn how to like dribble it on top, because as long as you could hit the ball up like this, you should be fine. But the next learning curve is being able to maintain it. And the tip for having the ball on top of your car for long periods of time is keeping your car in the middle of the ball indicator. And that's just super helpful for new players to understand how to keep the ball on top of their car. And say if you start from an awkward angle, if you want to dribble right, get to the left side of the ball, because if you boost, the ball's automatically going to be going to the opposite side. And it's the same with left. And I think, is it the same? Okay, I don't think it's the same with front and backwards, but stupid. But that is like the key takeaways I would take is learning how to take pops like this, and then learning how to maintain the car or the ball on top of your car. And then getting into flicks next is there's 4 different type of flicks for a beginning to learn. Your front flip flick, which I just failed. So front flip flick like that. Your 45 degree, which in turn you turn your car 45 degrees. And then a 90 degree flick where you turn your car 90 degrees. And I think honestly the one that I use most is my 45, because turning the car 45 degrees is super fast and super agile, and I could get the flick off fast. There's a third one where it's a 180, and a 180 is like, takes too long and it's not really utilized in high level gameplay anymore. So I would just either stick to your 45, so like that, or stick to your 90s. And then to start utilizing 45s, all you really have to do is get the ball on top of your car, jump with it, and then just do a side flip. Tilt your car a little bit to the left to do the 45, and then side flip into it. And since we learned how to do the steps or the process to, pop the ball up like this, then get the ball on top of your car, and then executing the flick, I'll show you some examples where I do it on some good players or pro players in game. Looking at this clip, it's on Forky. I save his shot. I take my time, and then I proceed to go for the 45, and it's super powerful, it gets around him, and gets the job done. So here's a second clip of me doing a breezy flick top left. It shows flicks that are at a higher level. So moving on to the second point, for focusing on yourself and not teammates and opponents, this just entails that, you know, instead of blaming your teammates every game, just go back, look what you could have done better, and look at the mistakes that you did, because a lot of players in this rank tend to blame their teammates, and it really hinders their improvement. So I will make a video on why blaming your teammates makes you worse at some point. But if you also want it personalized, I do coaching on my Patreon, and I could create your own personalized plan and get you set. So for the third point is learning how to sit behind your teammate. This is a very, very important skill in Rocket League, and you'll see it all the way up to the highest level in the game. Even in RLCS, you tend to see people waiting behind their teammate, because it's the best position on the field when you are the last back. So for an example, imagine, you know, your teammate's driving the ball down in the corner, and you're last man. Learning how to just stay back here and wait for your teammate to do what he's doing in the corner. Like, even if, say, like, he wins this, like, right here, you're ready to shoot it. And say, you know, your teammate bring into corner, and then he gets dunked, like, really hard. But, say you were, like, out here when this happens, you're going to be able to turn, and you're going to be able to either shoot it on net or just put it back into their side of the field. Teammate loses it, boom. Immediately, they're back on counterattack, or, you know, like a better example of some, like, your teammate losing it is he's going down the field, popping, boom. Immediately back on offense. So it's a really good mechanic to learn in Rocket League. And I'll show you some examples of me doing it on LJ and EXO with Talk on my team. But it is one of the most underutilized mechanics in low ranks that I tend to see. See a lot of low ranks tend to double commit, ball chase, and a lot. So the earlier you learn this, the faster you'll rank up just in general, because you're just playing smarter than everybody else. But let's get into where I utilize it in this pro gameplay. So starting it off, I'm just sitting behind Talk, waiting for him to force for me, and I get a free shot slotted on LJ's head. Okay, well, moving on to our next rank set, we're going to be going from about mid-diamond to about C3. This is where I see, like, people around the same skill level. Like, obviously, I'm not going to say a Diamond 2 is the same skill level as a Champion 3, but they do tend to need to work on the same things. So I'm going to get into the 3 new main points for this rank set. So let's hop right into it. So here are the next 3 main points that I wanted to make from Diamond 2 to about C3. So let's get into the first point. Okay, for the first point that I want to make for anywhere from between Diamond 2 to Champ 3 is starting to work on your advanced mechanics. That entails, you know, air dribbles, flip resets, to, you know, even better flicks. Because I still score flicks in my top 100 lobbies. But it's just being able to getting these basic, super basic air dribbles, like these type of air dribbles where you could get around 1 or 2 opponents. And, you know, flip reset's obvious, most, like, well-known mechanic in this game. Ground to air dribbles and ground to flip resets are going to be a lot more difficult for players around this skill level. So I would recommend working on off your wall mechs. So getting a flip reset, flipping into it. You know, maybe getting a double. That's pretty hard for new diamonds. Do see some champs do it though. Not as common, but just learning how to, you know, mostly air dribble anywhere between Diamond 2 and Champ 3 is a huge advantage. And that's probably the first main point I would like to address, is just learning how to air dribble around 1 or 2 opponents and flip resetting. So the second point that I wanted to get into, for, like, you know, anybody that's mid to high diamond or high champ or even in between, is start looking at replays and start analyzing like what you could do better. This is the same thing of not blaming your teammates, but you're getting a more in-depth like replay review, which you could still do like in the lower rank sets, but this is where really when you can start recognizing your own mistakes and what you could have done better. So I definitely recommend, if you're trying to improve as fast as possible, take like 10 to 15 minutes out of your day just to look over a couple of your replays and solely focus on what you could have done better and why you are getting scored on or why you're not scoring goals. Because what I tend to do is, if I go to my replays, what I tend to do is I save some replays. So like, let's just go to this random, let's see, this fine one. I've been doing a lot of scrims. Let's just go to, you know, this one. The one that I haven't named. What is this one? Okay, so it's me and Taroko versus Leth and Archie. So I would sit here for, you know, it's an 8-minute and 30 game. But I would just sit here, watch what I could have done better, you know. Maybe even go into fly cam. You know, looking at my gameplay and what I could have done better. Like, let's see why we get scored on here. Let's see, even before this. So why we get scored on here was because playing behind a Taroko, like our previous point. What I do is I try to steal this boost from Archie to, you know, so he has no boost and he can't really do anything. But I get beat in the process, and since Taroko has no boost, I don't really have anybody back, and Archie gets a really, really good touch off of this wall for a pass to left. So just looking at this in my point of view, I shouldn't have played super aggressive and, you know, super wild here. I should just maybe took the boost and stuck to the ground, because if I stuck to the ground, I'm able to jump for this ball rather than being backwards to it. So even in a quick 30-second glance of me looking over, you know, my replays with these pro players, I could already find mistakes that I'm doing. So imagine like somebody that's Diamond 2 to Champ 3 looking over the replays. Imagine how many mistakes they're going to find in their gameplay. And another thing is that Diamond 2 to Champ 3s really struggle with in their improvement is they don't know what mistakes they're making. So like, again, if you ever wanted to go into an in-depth replay analysis, I am always available on Patreon. Sorry for the same plug, I know, but or you could just find someone that's higher ranked in the community. You don't even have to get a coach. Just find somebody that's higher ranked or better than you and just ask them, like, what can I do better in this replay? What can I do to improve? And 9 times out of the 10, they'll agree, because if getting coaching or acknowledging somebody that's better than you is a kind of a play into their ego, and it makes people feel good. So that's what I would do if I was around this rank, is really just look at your own replays and figure out what you need to do better, and just putting what you need to do better into your gameplay. And that's really where most of your improvement's going to come from, and honestly spamming your mechanics. But with that, I think our second point's done. Okay, so for our third and final point for anybody that's in between mid Diamond 2 to about Champ 3 is the ability to learn how to take good 50s. And learning how to take 50 honestly stems all the way up into SSL. But what I mean by that is just taking good 50s for the ability to score. That's what I primarily would focus on in this. I wouldn't focus on any of the more advanced 50s, like 50ing it in a good spot for your teammate, because that's more advanced, and honestly, even if you did do it, your teammates wouldn't expect it or even be ready for it, so you'd be doing extra for no reward. So, but getting into like taking good 50s, taking a good 50 is very, very situational, so it's going to come from mostly experience, but I could just show you like the basics of it. So depending on how you're trying to shoot, a good 50 is always getting your car behind the center mass of the ball. So the more car you have behind the ball in the 50, the easier the 50 is going to be to win. So like if you're going off the wall and say you're air dribbling and you know your opponent's waiting on the goal line for you, like get behind it, like put your entire car behind it, because 9 times out of 10, if you put your entire car behind it, you're going to win the 50 into their net. So once you start utilizing these like more like physics based 50s, you are going to win more 50s, which results in more goals. Even a good part is I would rather take a 50 like this than flipping into a 50 to add more force to it, because I'd rather have center mass rather than force into it, because just adding, like flipping into the ball while taking a 50 is just going to add speed to the ball. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to win it. It just means the ball's going to go faster off the 50. So if you're trying to win a 50, take the 50 at center mass. That is probably the best 50 tip that I can give you as a top 100 ones player, twos player, and threes player, is just taking the 50 at center mass. And and I'll show you it when I do it against beast mode and Forky. Okay, so here's the clip where I 50 beast mode into the net. So like we talked about earlier, for the lower ranks, just playing behind your teammate, get a little air dribble, and then I put my center mass behind the ball to win that 50. So getting into our next rank set, I'm going to be doing GC1 through GC2, because these GC ranks have such a big difference between each rank that I could honestly make a separate video going through all 3 GC ranks, but I'm going to try to simplify as best as I can in these last 3 ranks before SSL. So here's the 3 main points on screen, and let's get into it. Okay, so starting off with our first point, it's honestly, what it comes down to is speeding up with your mechanics. So this is what we call comp mechs once you start getting better at the game. It's a term that pros use and other like high ranked players use, is comp mechs or competitive mechs. And it's basically just a vague term for, you know, air dribbles, flip resets, bumps. It should basically just put all like your top tier mechanics into one word. But it's honestly just practicing these and being able to speed up and do them. So what I mean by that is getting, like, say you go for an air dribble and it's going fast off the wall, you know, getting a big touch into like a double tap. But it's basically speeding up enough where you can get around your higher level opponents, because the higher level you go, the faster they're going to be able to play. So you also got to adapt your mechanics to play at the same speed, and that's a really big learning curve from DC1 to GC2, and example from GC2 to GC3. It's not so much from GC3 to SSL, just because we'll get into it later, but GC3 to SSL is more about refinement. But back to the point is just work on, like, I would recommend just work on, like, you know, getting these big bangs still is really helpful, you know, trying to read them. That's going to be really helpful. And, you know, getting like these really controlled touch, but the ability to also, you know, get big touches and still maintain control. So that's probably the best thing you can do in free play, but most of the work's going to have to be going into ranked and just speeding up your mechanics. But with that, our first point is done. So the second point that I wanted to talk about is really broad and very, like, it's really hard to explain, and I can make a, like I said, I could make a whole nother video on it. So if you want to see that, let me know down in the comments. But it's learning how to position around your teammates. Like I said, very broad. So learning how to play around your teammates is very, very important going into GC2 and GC3. The ability to play around your teammate allows you to, like, predict interactions and allows you to get better free balls to yourself. So, like, being able to predict that your teammate's going to lose a ball is going to be really beneficial to, you know, your mechanical capability of scoring and just, you know, defending. So learning positioning is very, very hard to break down into, like, just one, like, point. So I will definitely have to make another video on it, but just know the best way for you to improve on it is watching replays and thinking about where you could have positioned on the field for you to make the best opportunity out of what your teammate did. A lot of big words, a lot of big understanding, but it's really hard to explain in one main point, and it's really what separates GC1s and GC2s from those two higher ranks, GC3 to SSLs. So just doing a little recap. Focus on where you are on the field, what's going to happen where you should be, and that's pretty much it when you go over replays. Other than that, you're just, like, I'm gonna have to release a video on a more detailed explanation, and you just watching your own replays and understanding it. Okay, so for the third and final point for GC1 and GC2 is going to be the mental. This is the part where, or this is the part of the game where people get up to and think that, you know, they're the next coming to Zen. And they usually get really egotistical and really proud about what they've accomplished and where they're at in the game. So they start becoming like delusional and, you know, egotistical. So they really don't want to listen to any teammates. So this is where I would say if you want to improve and take the game seriously and get to those high ranks, is you need to not do this. You need to keep a calm mental. Just be able to look around you and know that everyone around you is in the same spot you are. No matter where they are in their improvement, they're in the same rank as you. You're in the same rank as them. They're basically, I would just say they're the same skill level. Obviously, you're gonna have people that get boosted, yada yada yada, but there's still ways to win with people that are boosted on your team. Like, for example, if you would put a pro in a GC1 lobby with a boosted teammate, they're going to win that game just because how much better they are and how much more refined their gameplay is. So don't think just because your teammate's boosted that none of it's your fault, because you could always do something better. So what I would recommend is what I said earlier, is don't blame your teammates. Like, your teammates are going to make mistakes, you're going to make mistakes. You can put all the blame on your teammate, but you're really not getting anything out of it. So just focus on you and do what you want to do. With that, our main point 3 is finished. So getting into our final rank set of the video, GC3 to SSL, there's only going to be 2 main points, because honestly, I can't really think of anything more than these 2 main points. Just because GC3 to SSL isn't... It's a big skill gap, but there's really nothing more you could work on except refinement and learning how to slow down. So let's get into it. Okay, so for the first point for GC3 to SSL is, honestly, it's going to be learning when to slow down. And I know that sounds really contradictory to all of what I said throughout this video, but once you get to about GC3, I see a lot of GC3s just ball chasing and going super, super fast, which in hindsight is good because, you know, they could play to that ability of playing fast. But what their key part of what they're missing is learning how to slow down and use their brain more. And I'm not calling every GC3 brainless or brain dead. It's more of the more time you give yourself, the better plays you're able to give yourself. And learning how to play slow to fast is so much more dangerous than playing fast to slow, because when you play fast to slow, you limit your options, which makes you predictable, and it makes you really easy to read for your opponents. So what I would do is learn how to slow down, but not so much where you're getting scored on because of it. But slow it down enough where you have more time with the ball and have more time with your mechs and make yourself more threatening and more dangerous to your opponents. And for the second and final point of this video, and it's going to be the final point for GC3 and SSL, is just refinement. Like, honestly, once you learn how to play slow and, you know, take time and take control, it's honestly just refinement of everything you've learned in the game and getting it to the ability where you can carry yourself out of these 1700, 1800 lobbies and get yourself to SSL. And obviously, I know some of you know that there's an entire different game starting when you get SSL, the SSL hierarchy. But I could go into a 30-minute video of what you need to do to advance to the SSL hierarchy. It's a very, very complex ranking system to get to top 100 in pros. But just going back to GC3 to SSL, it's all about practicing what you've worked on. Just gameplay and game sense and mechanics. This is why a lot of people say you can't get SSL with at least 4 to 5k hours into the game, is because your 3K hours are probably spent getting GC, and the next 2,000 hours are all about refinement and really working on the precision of your mechanics and the precision of game sense and knowing where to be on the field. But with that, I think that wraps up the last point for GC3 and SSL, and I think that wraps up all the main points that I wanted to make. Okay, so that wraps the video up. I really appreciate it if you made it this far, and if you thought it was helpful, leave a comment down what the most helpful tip was. But I would appreciate it if you like and subscribe, and turn the notifications on, because I'll be posted the next week. But with that, I shall see you later.